And just so you know too, Lisa, we have had some people that can't make it because Monday is typically our busiest day. So I did tell them we'll send them the replay.
Okay, and it's Liza, just.
Oh, sorry, Liza. Yes.
That's okay.
I do have it like, I'm sorry.
Phonetically spelled out.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It happens like 5 times a day, so.
I know. Okay. I have it in my head, but then I saw the name when I was typing. I'm like, oh, sorry.
That's okay. Sarah Brown's probably pretty easy for people.
It is, but you wouldn't believe how many people misspell it, or how do you spell that? And I'm like, really?
Like you'd think? Yeah. Well, my husband's name is Todd, and everybody wants to spell it wrong, so.
I know. I'm like, yeah, it's spelled like the color. You know? Welcome, everyone. We'll get started in just a minute. We're going to let a couple more people hop on. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and start. And people that are joining us late or have to hop off, we can send you our recording. I'd like to welcome you to the Financial Resources and Relief webinar. Today we have Liza Chollet. She's a managing partner with the Kohn Partnership. Hi, Liza.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I guess I'll just take it away, Sarah?
Please do. Thank you.
Okay, so welcome everybody listening and those that are going to replay this later. So my specialty, I'm a lawyer. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. Our specialty at our practice is tax law. So we help small business owners save money on their business and personal financial transactions and protect their wealth throughout their life and then pass it on to the next generation or sell their business. So that's generally my basic focus. So naturally, because I work with a lot of self-employed people, I have come to know the financial resources available to small business owners pretty well over the last couple weeks, due to the pandemic, I should say. There is a lot of ambiguity out there, some of which I can dispel and clarify. And then there's other things that, no one really knows. The stimulus package went through and was approved by the government, but there's still an issue with implementation where even banks and the SBA don't know exactly how to follow through with this, these stimulus resources available to small business owners. So I'm going to do my best to explain those to you. And just for purposes of clarification, I'm really going to talk about the CARES Act, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, and a little bit about the SBA emergency funding, which is the EIDL loans. There's also some by state, and some cities are doing their own grants and things like that. So you might want to talk to a local professional or do some researching online to see if some of those would apply to you. But the two major ones that are going to apply to everybody across the country are the two I'm going to talk about today. I'd like to keep it a little bit open, so if you have questions as we go, feel free to share them in the chat, and after I get through what I'm going to say, we'll try to answer some questions. If there's anything too specific to what you're going through that might not apply to everybody, I might just direct us to talk about that offline, but also feel free after this is over, if you guys think of anything that you'd like to ask me. All of this is federal in nature, so whether you're in Missouri or California or Maine, I can answer questions across the board. And really, my practice is international, so so I'm familiar with a lot of state tax code for each state. So first of all, the first thing that's available to lots of business owners now, if you have under 500 employees, is the CARES Act. Now, this is the best thing available to small business owners right now that I can see, and this is the forgivable loan that the SBA is backing, but you will go through your local bank to apply for. So there's a little bit of a difference. The SBA emergency funds are with the SBA, and you will go to your local SBA providers. Not every bank does SBA loans, but a lot of your major banks will do those. And I think beyond just simple credit unions, most banks will have SBA capabilities. So that's the first myth I want to dispel, is don't go through the SBA for all of this, because you won't get to the right place. Having said that too, your local bank can answer exactly what they need from you in order to process these loans. So everybody has the same SBA applications, but the bank might also want to see some extra things from you too. So the CARES Act, the Paycheck Protection Program, that's the first thing we're going to talk about. Eligibility. This is for people that are in businesses that are in business as of February 15th, 2020. So you actually don't have had to have any 2019 track record in order to apply, and you have to have less than 500 employees. If your employees are paid by W-2, you're able to apply for these loans right now. And if you're self-employed, it's just you'll be able to apply starting on Friday, the 10th. So one thing to remember too here is you're going to be able to include your draws. So what you guys are taking as just money out of your business, but that can be included here as well. So the loan is to support your ongoing operations. So your payroll, including your W-2s, independent contractors that would otherwise be treated as employees. So we're not talking about, your business consultant or somebody that you might still send a 1099 to, but isn't really an employee kind of a relationship. So if you're paying other people in your profession to provide services, but through a 1099, those are people that you'll want to include in your payroll number, and draws to you. And it's also going to cover any rent that you have to pay for your office space and any utilities, and those can even include cell phone bills. So I'm just going to get ahead of myself. So if you are an independent contractor, meaning you receive a 1099 from a small business, you will have your opportunity to apply for this starting Friday the 10th. So if you have payroll for other people and you pay yourself from your entity, you can already apply through your local bank. That started on Friday, although I haven't seen any cash disbursements yet. It's likely to take about a week or so. to get those sent out to everybody. But it is a simple process. They're basically calculating your loan amount. So this is a loan, but it's forgivable by taking your monthly payroll on average, and you want to look at what you would pay people during this season. So if for some reason your business has a lot more going on in April and May, you want to take that as the amount that you're going to use, and they're going to multiply that by 2.5 times. And part of that payroll expense is health insurance if you pay those for employees, and other employee benefits like contributions to qualified plans. They want you to add those in, multiply by 2.5, and then that will be your amount that you can, over an 8-week period, either use for payroll, rent, or utilities. So they're doing this as a loan because they want people to apply to show them how much they need, so they're not just willy-nilly sending out, $10,000 here, $100,000 there. So they know what you need to be operational for 8 weeks. And then ultimately you have to provide proof of those expenses to your bank, and they will submit them to the SBA, who will then repay the bank. So that's how you get forgiven. If for some reason you use that money for something outside of the specific expenses allowed, then that will turn into a loan, which the government has approved that for a 1% interest rate. It's over a 2-year period, and there's no prepayment penalties. So basically, you can use funds to pay your payroll, and if you happen to have too much, then you just repay that. Now, there is no personal guarantee on these funds. There's no collateral necessary, and there's no repayment calculation. So like a normal loan where they would look at your financials and determine whether you can repay, they're not doing any of that. So that's what's going to make this a much faster process than might normally be available for the funding of loans. If you do go to a new bank, like you've worked with a bank previously that doesn't have the capability to offer these loans, you might need to provide them with some other information. Specifically, they're probably going to ask that you open an account with them so that they can fund your loan to that account. So just be prepared. They'll probably want like your EIN number and your articles of incorporation or operating agreement to get those accounts open too. And I'm sure they'll tell you exactly what they need. You cannot spend more than 25% of that loan amount on anything other than payroll. So while rent and utilities are an allowed expense, they still want, the goal of this is to cover your payroll. So to keep people employed so they don't have to go to unemployment. That includes if you've let people go over the last month or so as the pandemic's come into your state and affected your businesses, they will allow you to, they want you to rehire them no later than June 30th. So that's a requirement that you say, I had 10 employees before the pandemic, and by June 30th, 2020, I will have hired all 10 of those people back. It can decrease your ability to have the loans repaid if you lower people's salaries or what they're getting paid by 25% or more. And it can decrease the forgiveness if you also have a drop off in your number of employees that you retain. I don't know exactly how this is going to work ultimately, but there still must be some exception for those people you let go because somebody gets COVID-19 and that person can't run their business anymore, so we can't hire everybody back. A guy at a dentist where the dentist was already going to leave the practice, so he wants to pay people now, but ultimately his business won't work out. Or if somebody is stealing from you or really doesn't perform their job, you don't want to have to be required to keep them on. But again, we don't really know what this forgiveness process is going to look like. If you enter into one of these loans, you really want to make sure you keep all the documentation that you can as to what you use these funds for, and do your very best to keep everybody employed. It does say that they have to be have to go back to full-time status as of June 30th, 2020. What it's saying to me is that you should be able to get the money now and wait until, hopefully it's not this far, but let's just say your business doesn't start back up generating business until June 1st, then you can hire people back at June 1st and have those 8 weeks moving forward. So while you're getting back on your feet, you have that extra cash from the government. We believe that to be the case, but we're not certain on that. I haven't seen the loan documents yet from a bank because no one's actually processed the loan. I have submitted about 20 applications for my clients so far, and I will do more today and tomorrow. So that will kind of, we'll figure that out over the next couple months probably. I don't know that the government thought through everything before they issued this stimulus. So the other thing to note is there's a lot of ambiguity about whether to put your independent contractors on your loan application. Banks are telling us go ahead and include those people. The SBA, there was a Forbes article that just came out yesterday or the day before about the ambiguity that's surrounding the stimulus and its implementation. And one of the things they brought up is that the SBA is saying do not apply using your independent contractors because they can apply for themselves starting on Friday. And we don't want to have people double dipping. Ultimately, it's likely to come to fruition in the loan forgiveness part, where if you paid for your independent contractor to work, you might have to support the forgiveness process by providing the Social Security number or EIN number for that independent contractor. And then it'll probably tie up with that person claiming loan forgiveness on their side. Because the maximum you can get, I should have said this before, the maximum you can get for yourself or any employee or any 1099 is $100,000 annualized, $8,333.33 a month. So if you made $1 million for your business, from your business, or 100,000, everybody gets the same amount under this Paycheck Protection Program. Certainly, if you have people that made $40,000, they're maxed at, you don't need to pay them more than the $40,000. But right now, I would say apply using your independent contractors on there. It's probably beneficial to have a conversation with them that you're doing that. But ultimately, the worst case scenario is they funded 2 different businesses with this PPP loan, and then one of them is not going to be forgiven. But you'll have the cash in your hand, so hopefully you can just repay that. So the way this is going to work is there's going to be a forbearance period, meaning you won't owe on your loan for 6 months while you use it, and then you'll have some period of time to provide the loan forgiveness documentation, and the banks have 60 days to give that over to the SBA and provide forgiveness for the loan. And that loan is not, the forgiveness of the loan is not includable in your income like normal normal cancellation of debt income is. So that's a huge benefit, because maybe you guys aren't familiar with this, but if you do, I apologize for knowing and repeating myself. But usually when you have debt forgiven, you actually have to take that in income on your tax return. But in this case, you don't. So it's really just a way to get money to small businesses. I see a question in the chat whether this will cover vehicle loans. It's not specifically to cover vehicle loans. It's only for those approved expenses that it will be forgiven. If you were in a pinch and had to use it for vehicle loans, it would just turn into a 1% loan over the next 2 years, because you wouldn't have that part forgiven. That's all I know for now. It's supposed to cover mortgage payments as well as rent if you do own your building. So that's something else that if you're more unique and own your own office, that would be available to you. But for vehicle loans, unfortunately, it's not to be used for that. So let me just see if I missed anything on here. So let's see. Yeah, I think I covered everything in my notes on the Paycheck Protection loan. On the next available resource, and you guys can go ahead and keep posting questions if you have them, but maybe I'll wait till the end to see if any more pop up. The other funding option, which could cover your vehicle loans, is that the SBA has the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. That's an EIDL loan. That is purely a loan. There is not forgiveness on that one. Although you have to have some collateral, but I don't believe there's any personal guarantee on that one. Let me just oh, you do have to personally guarantee that one. You don't get to pick how much you get under that loan. So under that loan, you apply saying that under both loans, really, you apply saying that you're uncertain as to your economic future and the financial future of your business. You don't have to have had a certain percentage decrease in business or anything like that. But in this case, you apply for that emergency loan. There's supposed to be a streamlined process for this, although out of all of my clients that have applied over the last 2 weeks, I haven't seen anyone get funding yet. There's a $10,000 advance that everyone is eligible for, but will not be available to everybody. So we don't know exactly how they're picking and choosing. And that is an emergency grant. So if they feel, the SBA feels like your business needs this $10,000 before they can determine whether you're eligible for the SBA emergency injury disaster loan, they will give you this $10,000 and it does not need to be repaid. You don't get to request how much you get, so the SBA will just determine what they think you need to divide their funds appropriately. And this loan, if I didn't say it before, this loan you will go through the SBA website. So there's a streamlined application where you fill out basic information about your business, and you also will be putting in your checking account number at the end in case they give you that $10,000 grant, but they will reach out to you for some more information once they start processing that initial streamlined application. Let's see. No cost to apply. There's no obligation to take either of these loans if they're offered. And there's no loan forgiveness. Again, this is no loan forgiveness on this one. You can apply for both of them. The bill actually encourages you to apply for both if you need the funding. You cannot use them for the same type of expense. So you cannot apply for the EIDL loan for the same purpose as the PPP loan. If you do use your EIDL loan for funds for payroll, you can refinance that into a PPP loan, although I haven't seen that done yet since no one's gotten any funds. So I'm not sure what that process would be like, but do not fear if you've already applied for the EIDL loan and now you're looking at the PPP loan. There's a lot of stuff on the internet where people are saying you cannot apply for both. You can apply for both. The issue becomes when you actually accept funds for both. There might be some limitation on that. So there's a couple of questions that popped up. Is there a deadline for closing the loan, and is there an advantage to waiting to close if you can't hire back till June? The only deadline for the loans is June 30th right now, so we have some time, but there are limited. I mean, it's an astronomical amount of money really, but there are limited funds allocated to this CARES Act PPP loan fund. So the sooner you can apply, the better. I don't think anyone should be worried that, if you don't apply by the end of the day today, there won't be any funds left. From what I'm hearing from bankers, they have a lot of applications, but the banks are still waiting on full applications. So a lot of partial applications are in, but the SBA hasn't really accepted many of them yet. So I would say my advice would be to go ahead and get going on that PPP application and just hold the funds until you need them. Again, that's subject to some change as more information becomes available. Everyone that I'm working with is operating under the assumption to just go ahead and apply, because you have to start using them before the end of June. And we don't want to run out of money before we get some for you. So everything that I'm saying here, to make sure you consult with me or another advisor to what's specific to your unique situation, because it may be unique to you, and so make sure you do that. Let's see, the emergency and payroll loans, emergency SBA loans should go through the SBA website, sba.gov. There's a link at the top. There's a bright orange bar at the top of the website that says COVID-19 emergency funding, and click on it, and it'll take you to the streamlined application. The emergency the payroll loans, the PPP loan, that is through your local bank. So if I'm sure you guys probably have the bank that you choose to use, but there's a lot of good ones out there. There's really no reason to choose one or the other. The banks are going to be compensated for these loans, so it's really just who gives you the best service. There shouldn't really be a reason to choose one bank over the other, and I can provide some resources for that too if you guys need some help. Or I don't know, Sarah, there might be some banks that are preferred, have preferred relationships with you, but any bank really that does SBA lending normally should be able to cover your paycheck protection loan. So on the SBA loan, the emergency loan, just to follow up on that, right now the SBA is saying that they want a little bit of collateral. They want to approve your ability to repay and your credit history. So it is a much more lengthy process than the paycheck protection loan. It's really most like the stimulus that's going to individuals, but it's our way of, or the government's way of making sure they know how much you guys need and that you're using it for the right expenses. So it's really a very fast process. Another question popped up: would we recommend using a separate checking account to better track your expenses? It doesn't hurt, but you know, if you're paying rent, keep a copy of that check. If you're paying your payroll, you'll have those records. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, the same exact dollars. I mean, in a bank account, there's no way to account for whether it's the same dollars. So they know you've got $50,000 this paycheck protection loan, and then you ended up using $50,000 to pay for those expenses and have support for that. That's what you should need. But definitely the most detailed evidence you can keep for these expenses, the better, because we're just not sure how finicky the SBA is going to be about forgiveness ultimately. Does anyone else have any questions? Another kind of confusing thing is how to actually calculate your payroll. Really do your best. I'm operating under the assumption that if you're a little bit high, meaning you take out 100,000, more than 100,000 from your business annually, and you have to write that down to 100,000, so you're not sure how to manipulate the numbers when it comes to FICA. I would do your best at estimating what those payroll expenses are. The banks have a Excel spreadsheet that they can help you walk through that, and your local banker can answer those questions too. But I would opt on the side of being high, but also being realistic. It's got to be backed up. The bank is going to want to see if you do have documentation of your 2019 941s and payroll records and 1099s. They want to see that, because for the bank, they want to make sure that they can trust your numbers, because ultimately if the SBA says they won't repay, the bank is going to be the one with the relationship with you. So it's a little bit scary to a bank to know that they haven't calculated your repayment ability, but they're going to be giving you these funds, because they don't want to end up with a loan that a business can't repay. So let's see. Oh, yep, I think Sarah's going to make this available to review later for sure. After presentation. Again, if you need any help, Sarah's going to send out my email address. I am happy to help. Your local bankers should be able to give you the information you need as well. It's a pretty streamlined process. They really want to be able to make it easy for small business owners in the U.S. to get access to these funds easily. And there's a lot of people that you know, are not very savvy out there, or even intelligent to use the computers, that they want to make sure get these funds. So it's meant to be a simple and fast process. So I think that's about it for what I have for today. If nobody else has any questions.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think we'll be able to get through this. We just need some cash to do it. So this is, everybody should take advantage of it. I would not shy away for you, even if you feel like you're going to be able to weather the storm either way. I mean, if everybody can get it, it might as well be you. So apply for that PPP loan.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Liza, and everyone that's on and everyone that's going to watch later. I will make this shareable, and then we will also share all your information, contact information, if they have any questions or would like to reach out to you for assistance.
Thank you, guys. I wish you luck. Stay healthy.
Thank you, everybody. Yes. Have a great day.
You
yes,
too.
Everybody stay
Bye.
healthy.